Okay, let's unpack this. I want you to picture the dream. You know the one I'm talking about.
Hmm.
It's maybe 2:30 p.m. on a Tuesday. You're at your desk. The fluorescent lights are humming that low-grade headache frequency. You're just staring at a spreadsheet that refuses to balance.
Or you're in a meeting about synergy.
Yes, you're listening to a boss drone on about synergy and circling back, and you just get this thought, I could do this so much better.
It's the seed, isn't it? That little whisper.
Exactly. And that whisper, it starts to grow. It turns into, I could go out on my own.
Wow.
And suddenly, this spreadsheet just vanishes.
Yeah, you start daydreaming.
You start picturing the fantasy.
Hmm.
And it's freedom. It's wealth. It's being the captain of your own ship. No more asking for time off to go to the dentist. No more cap salary. No more office politics.
It's just you and your brilliant idea conquering the world.
It is the ultimate American dream, right?
It is the most intoxicating narrative in our whole economy. This idea that autonomy automatically equals happiness. It's the exit sign allure.
But when we look at the reality and, the data we have for this deep dive, that dream usually wakes up as a nightmare.
It's a brutal reality check. I mean, the statistics on small business failure are just grim. But even for the ones that technically survive, the owner's quality of life often just plummets.
That is exactly what we're digging into today. Because for most people who actually take that leap, the reality isn't sipping margaritas on a boat while the passive income rolls in.
Not even close.
It's working 14, 16 hours a day. It's stress levels that make your old corporate job look like a spa retreat. And I think the worst part is you feel trapped.
It's a very, very specific kind of trap, and the source material we are covering today puts it in a way that is, frankly, a little terrifying.
Oh, yeah.
It suggests that if your business depends on you to run, if you have to be there for the doors to open or for the product to get made, you don't actually own a business.
Ouch. That's a direct hit.
You have a job, and to quote the author directly, it's the worst job in the world because you are working for a lunatic.
And that lunatic is you.
Precisely. You are the boss. You can't escape. You can't complain to HR about yourself. You can't quit. You are like the oppressor and the oppressed at the same time.
That is such a heavy realization to start with, but it really does set the stage perfectly. So today we are doing a deep dive into a classic. I mean, this is one of the absolute titans of business literature.
It really is.
If there's a Mount Rushmore of business books, this one is on it. We are talking about The Emyth Revisited by Michael E. Gerber.
This is one of those books that it fundamentally changed the landscape. It was published decades ago, but I would argue the insights are actually more relevant now, in this era of the gig economy and the side hustle than they even were when it was written.
That's a good point.
It's not just a how-to guide on taxes or marketing tactics. It's really a philosophy of work.
And our mission today is pretty straightforward, but I think vital. We want to explain why most small businesses fail to work. And I don't just mean financially. I mean, why do they fail the human being who started them? Why did they become prisons?
And more importantly, how do you fix it? How do you stop being that lunatic boss to yourself?
Exactly.
And the answer, it requires a complete shift in perspective. It's not about working harder. It's about understanding what a business actually is.
Okay, so let's start right there. The title, The Emyth. It sounds a bit mysterious. What exactly is the Emyth?
It stands for the entrepreneurial myth, and this is the foundational error, the original sin that causes all the trouble down the line.
Okay.
The myth is the belief that just because you understand the technical work of a business, you therefore understand how to run a business that does that technical work.
Okay, that sounds like a subtle distinction, but I have a feeling it's actually massive. Can you break that down? Give me an example.
Sure. Let's use the classic example from the book. Let's say you're a fantastic barber. I mean, you have the hands, the eye for detail, you know how to fade, how to trim better than anyone in town. Your clients love you. You're standing there cutting hair and you think, why am I working for this guy? I'm the one doing all the work. I'm the real talent here. I should open my own shop.
That feels like a very logical leap to me. If I'm the best barber, I should have the best barbershop.
But that is the E-myth in action. It's the assumption that because you are good at cutting hair, which is a technical skill, you are automatically qualified to run a barbershop, which is a business.
But those are two totally different skill sets.
They are completely unrelated. I mean, cutting hair is a technical skill involving scissors and combs and conversation. Running a barbershop involves, Oh my gosh. Lease negotiations, hiring and firing, payroll tax compliance, marketing strategy, cash flow management, customer retention systems, janitorial standards,
Right.
none of which has anything to do with holding a pair of
Right.
scissors.
The scissors don't tell you how to negotiate with the landlord who wants to raise the rent.
Exactly. But the technician, or barber, assumes that the business is just a wrapper for the work. They think, I'll just do the cutting and all that other stuff will sort of sort itself out.
But we all do that. We assume that because we're good at the thing, whether it's writing code or baking pies or fixing cars, that the business part is secondary. It's an afterthought.
And that fatal assumption leads directly to what Gerber calls the owner's trap. You start the business to get free of your boss, but because you don't know how to run the business, you just end up doing the work.
You become an employee of a business that doesn't even exist yet.
Exactly. Which brings us to the story of Sarah.
Yes, the story of Sarah.
This is the core narrative of the book.
And it's used to really drive this point home, and honestly, it's heartbreaking. I think anyone who has ever started a project, even a small one, can relate to her. Sarah started a business called All About Pies.
A classic passion project, right?
Absolutely. She loved baking. She learned from her aunt. She had these wonderful memories, the smells, the joy of creating these delicious pies. It was her happy place. So she does what everyone tells her to do.
She follows her passion.
She listens to her friends who say, Sarah, oh my gosh, you should sell these. You'd make a fortune.
The famous last words of many entrepreneurs.
Exactly. So she invests her savings. She signs a lease. But fast forward 3 years. The author Gerber meets Sarah, and she is a shell of a person. She isn't the happy baker anymore.
No.
She's exhausted. She's not just the baker. She's the cleaner. She's the bookkeeper. She's a customer service rep. She's working 16-hour days, 7 days a week.
She traded a 40-hour work week for a 100-hour work week, and she's likely making less money per hour than she was at her old job.
And here's the quote that really stuck with me. It's devastating. She tells the author, I hate pies. I can't stand the smell of pies. I can't stand the sight of pies.
That is the tragedy of the technician turned owner. The very thing she loved, the technical work of baking, became the chain that enslaved her. She destroyed her own passion by trying to turn it into a job she wasn't prepared to manage.
She created a job for herself, not a business.
And because she's the boss, she can't quit. She traded a boss for a tyrant herself who doesn't know how to delegate, doesn't know how to build a system, and just keeps cracking the whip harder and harder.
If I just work harder, I'll get ahead.
But she just digs the hole deeper, and this leads to one of the most interesting psychological breakdowns in the book. Gerber says that we aren't just one person. We think we are one individual. But every business owner is actually 3 people in constant conflict.
Right. This is the core internal struggle. You've got the entrepreneur, the manager, and the technician.
It's like a civil war inside your own head.
Okay, let's unpack these. Who is the entrepreneur?
So the entrepreneur is the visionary, the dreamer. This part of you lives in the future. It never, ever lives in the present.
It's all about what if.
All about what if. It sees possibilities. It looks at a vacant lot and sees a skyscraper. It looks at a problem and sees a massive opportunity. It's the creative spark that drives the whole business forward.
Okay, so that's the idea guy, the Steve Jobs energy. Let's put a ding in the universe.
Exactly. But the entrepreneur can be dangerous to the other personalities because they create chaos. They are always dreaming up the next thing before the current thing is even finished. They get bored so easily.
Then you have the manager.
The manager is the pragmatist. If the entrepreneur lives in the future, the manager lives in the past. They cling to order.
I feel seen.
They want to organize the mess that the entrepreneur creates. They crave systems, consistency, and planning. They want neat rows of files and balanced books. They want predictability.
So the entrepreneur storms in and says, let's launch a whole new line of savory pies next week. And the manager says, hang on, we don't have the inventory space, we don't have the budget, and we haven't even finished the paperwork for the last launch.
Exactly. They are naturally at odds. The entrepreneur sees the manager as a stick in the mud, a buzzkill. The manager sees the entrepreneur as a loose cannon who's going to bankrupt them.
And then there's the third personality, the one that usually wins.
The most dominant one. The technician.
The doer.
The doer. The technician lives in the present. They just love the feel of the work. If they are a baker, they want to be baking. If they are a coder, they want to be coding. To the technician, the entrepreneur is a problem because they keep dreaming up new interruptions, and the manager is a nuisance because they keep trying to impose bureaucracy.
The technician just wants to be left alone to do the work.
Just let me do my job. That is the technician's battle cry. And here's the kicker. Gerber breaks down the statistics of the average small business owner. Ideally, you'd want to balance the synthesis of all three.
But in reality,
The typical owner is 10% entrepreneur, 20% manager, and a whopping 70% technician.
wow, 70%. So the person running the business isn't actually interested in business, they're interested in the work.
Correct. And because the technician is in charge, the business becomes a grind. They wake up every day and their first thought is, I have to make the pies today. They don't wake up and think, how do I build a system so the pies get made without me?
That is the crucial distinction. The technician is working in the business. The entrepreneur works on the business.
That phrase, working on versus working in, is probably the most famous takeaway from this entire book. And for good reason. It is a fundamental shift Sarah needed to make. She needed to, in essence, fire herself as the baker and hire herself as the CEO.
So let's talk about that solution, the turnkey revolution. How do we move from Sarah, the exhausted pie maker, to Sarah, the successful business owner?
Well, the first step is you have to stop viewing the product you sell as the product.
Wait, run that by me again? If I sell pies, aren't the pies my product? If I sell consulting, isn't my advice the product?
No. In the mind of a true business owner, the business itself is the product. The pie is just what the business produces. Your goal is to design a business, a machine, really, that works. And ideally, it works without you needing to be there.
So you're engineering an organism. You're not just baking. You are building a machine that produces a consistent result.
Yes. And the gold standard for this, the example Gerber uses that everyone on the planet knows, is McDonald's.
Now, I know some people roll their eyes at McDonald's. They think of fast food, maybe not the highest culinary art. They think, I don't want to be McDonald's. I want to be an artisan.
But you have to put aside your opinion of the food for a second. From a business perspective, McDonald's is a miracle. It is arguably the most successful small business in the history of the world.
And it all comes back to Ray Kroc.
Yes, Ray Kroc. When he found the McDonald brothers in San Bernardino, he didn't just see a burger stand. He didn't just see tasty fries.
What did he see?
He saw a well-oiled machine. He saw high school students, kids with no experience, no culinary training, probably not the most reliable demographic producing identical, inexpensive food with military precision.
And that's the key word, right? Consistency. You can go to McDonald's in Tokyo or in Texas, and the fries taste the same. The burger's built the same way. The pickles are in the same spot.
Exactly. Ray Kroc realized that the McDonald brothers hadn't just built a restaurant, they had built a system. And that system was the product. He didn't go on to sell hamburgers. He sold the business format franchise. He sold the system for making hamburgers.
And this is where the term turnkey comes from.
Right. The idea is that the business is so systematized, so documented, and so clear that you can just turn the key and it runs. You could hand the keys to a complete stranger or a teenager, and if they follow the manual, the business works.
So even if you never plan to franchise, even if you just want one really great pie shop, Gerber's argument is that you have to act like you are going to franchise.
Yes. That is the franchise prototype model. You have to pretend. You have to ask yourself this one specific question over and over. How must my business work in order for it to successfully run without me?
That one question changes everything. If I ask, how do I bake better pies? I'm being a technician. If I ask, how do I create a system where anyone can bake these pies to my standard? I'm being an entrepreneur.
Precisely. It forces you to document. It forces you to create operations manuals. It forces you to take what is in your head, your secret sauce, your intuition, and translate it into an organizational capability.
Which is terrifying for some people, right?
Yeah.
Because we like to feel indispensable. We like being the only one who knows how to fix the glib-glob machine. It feeds the ego.
It's the ego of the technician. Nobody can do it like I can. And as long as you believe that, you will be chained to that glib-glob machine forever. You are choosing your own captivity because you are afraid to let go of control.
So to break out of that, you need a blueprint. You need a plan. You can't just wing it and hope for the best.
You absolutely do. And this brings us to another titan of industry, Tom Watson, the founder of IBM.
I love this story. So IBM is this massive global corporation, but it started small. And Watson had a very specific philosophy about growth.
He did. He said that he had a crystal clear picture of what the company would look like when it was done before he even signed the first contract.
When it was done. That's such an interesting phrasing. Like a painting. Most people view business as this endless treadmill that never stops.
Yes. Most people start a business and just hope it grows. They see what happens. Watson designed the end state from the beginning, and his quote is so powerful. For IBM to become a great company, it would have to act like a great company long before it ever became one.
That is profound. It's like fake it till you make it, but with systems and standards.
It's all about intentionality.
Right.
If you want to be a big company, you can't act like a small one. You can't have sloppy bookkeeping or random hours just because, oh, it's just me right now. You have to set the standards of the future company today.
You have to dress like the IBM of the future, answer the phone like the IBM of the future.
Exactly.
So how does this apply to someone like Sarah? How do you go from I hate pies to the IBM model?
You start with what Gerber calls a strategic objective. This is basically your definition of success. And it's not some vague, fuzzy goal like I want to do well. It's specific. It's mathematical.
The source material lays out exactly what Sarah did. She didn't just say, I want to be happy. She sat down and really envisioned the business 7 years in the future.
Right, and let's look at her numbers. She decided she wanted 4 locations. She wanted $450,000 in annual sales at each location. She wanted a 15% profit margin. And her end game, her exit strategy, was to sell the entire business for over $1 million.
That is a world of difference from, I hope people buy my pies today.
It completely changes her daily behavior. Now, she isn't just baking pies to pay this month's rent. She is building an asset that is worth $1 million. Every single decision she makes, how she answers the phone, how she buys flour, how she trains the cashier, is a step toward that 4-location model.
She can measure every action against that strategic objective. Does this help me get to the 4th store, or is this just keeping me busy?
It shifts her from the technician's grind to the strategic.
So that blueprint needs specific components.
It's not just financial. You need to know your market. Is this actually an opportunity worth pursuing? Who is your ideal customer?
The demographics and psychographic.
Exactly. Not just women aged 30, 50, but people who value comfort, nostalgia, and premium ingredients. People who buy a pie not because they are hungry, but because they want to feel like they are at their grandma's house.
And you need operational standards.
Yeah.
Cleanliness, reporting, management. You are essentially building the manual for the machine before the machine is even fully built.
Which brings us to a huge stumbling block for almost every business owner: management.
Oh, the people problem.
Yeah.
This is where the rubber meets the road for so many.
It is. It really is.
There is this pervasive myth, I think, that to have a great business, you need to hire great people. You need rock stars. You need 10x employees.
It's a great manager myth.
Yeah.
Yes. We all look for that unicorn employee, the one who is self-motivated, brilliant, anticipates every need, works for a reasonable salary, and never, ever complains.
And if you find them, you hold on to them for dear life. You cater to them. You're terrified of them leaving.
But that's a massive vulnerability. If your business depends on a superstar, what happens when the superstar leaves? Or gets sick? Or demands a raise you can't afford?
Your business collapses.
Yeah.
Or you're basically held hostage by them.
Gerber argues that you don't need extraordinary people. In fact, relying on extraordinary people is a sign of a weak business system. You need a management system that allows ordinary people to produce extraordinary results.
Consistent results from ordinary people. That's the goal.
Exactly. And there is a great story in the book about a hotel Gerber visited that really illustrates this perfectly.
Oh, the resort hotel story. This paints such a vivid picture. So he goes to this hotel, and from the moment he arrives, everything is just suspiciously perfect.
Down to the smallest, most insignificant detail.
There's a match laid out for the fireplace at the exact right angle. There are mints on the pillow. The specific brand of coffee he likes is there in the morning. The specific newspaper he reads is at the door. And it happens every single time he visits. It's not hit or miss.
It's not a fluke. It's predictable. It's systemized. So naturally, being a business consultant, he assumes the manager must be this seasoned hospitality veteran, a genius of the industry who has trained his staff to perfection through sheer charisma and force of will.
And who does it turn out to be?
He meets the manager, and it's a 29-year-old kid with no prior experience in hotels whatsoever.
Which just blows his mind. He's thinking, how are you getting these people to care this much? How are you getting the maid to check the angle of a single matchstick?
Right. So he asks the guy, how do you do this? What's your secret? And the manager shows him. And it wasn't a motivational speech. It wasn't a massive bonus structure.
It was a manual.
It was an operations manual. He pulls it out. It has color-coded checklists. It has drawings, photos. It showed exactly how to place the match on the mantle at a 45-degree angle, exactly where the pillow mint goes, exactly how to fold the corner of the towel.
So the system provided the discipline, not the manager.
The system provided the standard. The staff didn't have to guess what a clean room meant. Clean is subjective. My version of clean is different from your version of clean. But matchstick at 45 degrees is objective. You either did it or you didn't.
And this frees the owner or the manager from constantly nagging and supervising. You aren't managing the person, you are managing the system.
That's the breakthrough. Did you follow the checklist? Is a much easier and less emotional conversation than, why isn't this room nice enough? It removes the subjectivity. And it allows that 29-year-old manager to run a world-class operation without needing to be a world-class genius himself.
He just needs to be a world-class follower of the system.
Precisely.
I love that. It
Yeah.
democratizes excellence. You don't need to be born with some special talent. You just need to be able to follow the steps. It sounds a bit robotic on the surface, but the result for the customer is that they feel incredibly taken care of.
And the employee actually feels safer and more confident. They know exactly what winning looks like. There is no ambiguity. People actually like structure. They like knowing that if they do A, B, and C, they have done a good job.
Now, this applies to operations like making the bed or baking the pie, but the book argues it applies to everything, even the so-called creative stuff like marketing.
Oh, yes. Turnkey marketing. Because I think a lot of people treat marketing as this mysterious dark art. I need to be creative, I need to be witty, I need to go viral.
Or they think it's just random acts of promotion. Okay, I'll put an ad in the paper today, tomorrow I'll post on Instagram. Maybe I'll spin a sign on the corner next week.
Random acts of marketing. A sure way to burn through your cash with no results. Gerber says marketing is a science, and it's based on psychology. It's about the system, not the artist.
The source material gets into the unconscious mind here, which is fascinating.
It does. It argues that buying decisions are largely irrational. They're emotional and unconscious. We decide in the split second that we want something based on a feeling, and then our conscious brain scrambles to catch up later to justify it with logic.
I need this $60,000 truck
Yeah.
because of its towing capacity and safety rating.
Hmm.
But really, you just liked how big and powerful it made you feel when you sat in it.
Precisely. The technician tries to sell the towing capacity. The entrepreneur sells the feeling. And a system allows you to control those unconscious triggers. There was a fascinating experiment mentioned in the text about suit colors in a department store.
The navy blue suits. This is one of those details that seems too small to matter, but it mattered hugely.
Yes, they ran a controlled test. Salespeople wearing navy blue suits consistently and significantly outsold those wearing brown suits. Everything else was equal. Same people, same product, same store.
That is wild, just the color of the fabric.
It triggers an unconscious association. Navy blue reads as authority, trust, professionalism, competence. Brown might read as, I don't know, dull service level or old-fashioned. The customer doesn't consciously think, I prefer blue. They just feel more comfortable and confident buying from the person in the blue suit.
And there was another one about the greeting. This is something every single retail store struggles with,
The classic, dreaded, may I help you?
which triggers the classic automatic response. No thanks, just looking.
Yeah,
It's a defensive reflex. We say it even if we do want help.
exactly. It just shuts down the entire interaction.
Hmm.
So they tested a systemized change. They instructed every salesperson to change the greeting to, have you been in here before?
And what happened?
Sales went up by 10 to 16% just by changing 6 words.
Because have you been in here before? Forces engagement. It's
Yeah.
not a yes-no in the same way.
It breaks the script. You can't say just looking to that question. You have to say yes or no. And if you say no, the salesperson has a scripted path to welcome you and show you around. If you say yes, they have a scripted path to say, welcome back, we have a new sale on. It starts a real conversation.
Now, if you are a technician owner, you might let your salespeople say whatever they want. You count on their personality. Oh, Jim is a charmer. Let him do his thing.
But what if Jim has a bad day? What if Jim quits? If you are an entrepreneur owner, you script the greeting, you control the suit color, you systemize the interaction. You don't leave your revenue to chance or personality.
This leads to the PowerPoint selling system mentioned in the book, which, just to clarify for the listeners, has nothing to do with Microsoft PowerPoint slides. There are no clickers involved.
No, absolutely not. It's a proprietary sales process developed at Emyth worldwide. And it's a scripted interaction. It treats the sales process like a theatrical play.
A play. I like that analogy. The salesperson is an actor delivering a well-rehearsed performance.
Exactly. The script covers everything. How you set the appointment, how you confirm the appointment, how you ask questions to analyze the customer's needs, what they call the needs analysis. And finally, the presentation of the solution. It is completely choreographed from start to finish.
And the results cited in the source material were just staggering.
They really were. There was a career development company selling a fairly intangible service that implemented this script. They had inexperienced salespeople, not high-priced closers. They increased revenue by 300% in 1 year.
300%. That is insane growth.
And an ad agency, again selling a creative service, saw a 500% increase in 2 years.
And the core argument is, it wasn't the people who changed.
It wasn't their charisma, it wasn't that they suddenly hired silver-tongued devils, it was the orchestrated process. The system did the heavy lifting. The system did the selling. The person was just the vehicle for the system. And the system works because it's based on human psychology, which doesn't change.
This brings us to the really practical part. Because I can hear the listeners saying, okay, I get it. Systems are great. Navy suits are great. But I'm swamped. I'm drowning in pies.
Yeah.
I have 400 unread emails. How do I actually start doing this? How do I stop the bleeding?
Right. How do you bridge that gap between vision and execution? Gerber outlines a simple 3-step cycle for business development. This is the engine of the turnkey revolution.
Innovation, quantification, and orchestration.
Right. Let's break those down. First, innovation. Now, this isn't just inventing a new gadget or being Steve Jobs. In the Emyth context, innovation simply means finding a better way to do things that adds value for the customer.
So changing the greeting to "Have you been in here before?"
Yeah.
That is an innovation.
Exactly. It's a small tweak with a huge purpose. It's looking at every part of your business and asking, how can we do this better? But innovation on its own is useless without step 2, quantification.
Measuring it. You have to measure it.
You have to know the numbers. If you change the greeting, did sales actually go up? By how much? If you switch to navy suits, did conversion rates improve? Most small business owners fly completely blind. They operate on feelings. I feel like we had a good week. I feel like customers like the new sign.
Feelings are not facts. You need to know how many people walked in, how many bought, what was the average ticket size. If you don't measure it, you don't really know if your innovation worked or if you just got lucky.
Exactly. So you innovate, try something new. You quantify, measure if it worked, and if it did work, if the numbers prove it was a good idea.
Then you move to step 3, orchestration.
This is the turnkey part. This is where you make it the law of the land. You standardize it. You write it in the manual. You say, from now on, this is how we do it here. Everyone wears navy blue suits. Everyone says this greeting. It happens every single time at the discretion of the system, not the whim of the employee.
And once you orchestrate it, you are done with that problem. You've solved it. You don't have to think about it anymore. You can move on to innovating the next thing.
Precisely. You ratchet up the quality and consistency of your business one system at a time. It's incremental progress toward that big strategic objective we talked about.
So let's go back to Sarah one last time.
Yeah.
How did she apply this? How did she orchestrate her pie shop?
Well, she had to stop just baking. She had to make the hard choice to step back from the thing she was good at. She started documenting her processes. How long do we mix the dough for? What is the exact temperature of the oven? How do we greet the customer when they walk in the door?
And in doing that, she realized something profound about her product, didn't she?
She did. She realized the product wasn't the pie. The pie was just the vehicle. The real product was the experience of caring.
That is beautiful.
It is. She wanted her customers to feel a certain way when they entered her shop. Warm, welcomed, safe, like they were escaping the cold, chaotic world outside. And you can systemize that feeling.
How so?
You can design the lighting, the smells, the music, the scripts the cashier uses. All of it can be designed to produce that feeling consistently.
And that mindset shift, realizing she was designing an experience, not just cooking food, is what finally allowed her to step out of the kitchen.
But it requires discipline. It is
Right.
so much easier in the short term to just go back into the kitchen and bake the pie yourself because it's faster and I know how to do it. Working on the business is hard work. It requires thinking, it requires patience. It can feel like you aren't doing anything sometimes, but it is the only way out of the trap.
So as we wrap this up, let's zoom out to the final perspective: freedom.
That is the ultimate goal here. Why do we start businesses? It's not to work harder than we did at our old jobs. We start them to have more life.
More life. I like that.
The business is supposed to serve you. It is a tool. It's a vehicle. If the vehicle is driving you, or if you are the one pushing the vehicle uphill every day, it's broken. You shouldn't serve your business. Your business should serve your life.
There's a quote from the end of the book that sums this up perfectly. The difference between great people and everyone else is that great people create their lives actively, while everyone else is created by their lives, passively waiting to see where life takes them next.
That is the choice. Are you an active architect of your life and your business? Or are you a passive victim of your own creation?
Sarah went from being a lunatic boss to herself, a victim to being an architect. She built a machine that gave her freedom. She could leave for a month, go on vacation, and the pies would still be baked, the customers would still be happy, and the bank account would still grow.
And that is what is available to anyone who embraces this Emyth philosophy. It's not about losing the passion. It's about channeling that passion into a structure that can sustain it. It's about respecting your passion enough to build a fortress around it so it doesn't end up killing you.
So here is the provocative thought I want to leave all of you with today. Look at your work. Whether you own a business, you run a team, or you even just manage a side hustle. Ask yourself this hard question. Are you building a machine? Or are you just a cog in a machine you built yourself?
And if you walked away for 6 months, took a sabbatical, went to an island, turned off your phone, would your business collapse? Or would it grow?
If the answer is collapse, you don't have a business, you have a job. And maybe it's time to start working on it instead of in it.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Thanks for diving deep with us today. We'll catch you on the next one.